Neil Diamond became one of the best-selling performers of all time despite starting from humble beginnings, selling millions of records worldwide. His songwriting was so good that other musicians started hiring him to compose music for them. The fact that so many artists from all over the world cover his tunes speaks volumes. However, Diamond's career was fraught with so many obstacles that he briefly faded from public view. Come with us as we delve into Neil Diamond's life traumas that hid him from the limelight for a spell. In a modest Jewish household in working-class Brooklyn, New York City, Neil Leslie Diamond came into this world on January 24, 1941. Having said that, his grandparents came from a wide variety of countries. His mother's family originated in Russia, while his father's family was Polish. His Polish-Russian father, Akiba Kiwi, and Russian-American mother, Rose, were both first-generation Americans who sold dry commodities, including grains, tea, and coffee. Food for the little household, including beans, coffee, sugar, and tinned ingredients. It wasn't until 1943 that Neil's younger brother Harvey was welcomed into the family. Akiba, the patriarch of the family, was stationed in Cheyenne, Wyoming in 1944. Thus, the family uprooted from their several Brooklyn residences and relocated there. They spent 4 years in Cheyenne. Diamond claims that this location profoundly influenced him when he was a little lad. I feel that Cheyenne was a major impact on my life. That's when my admiration for cowboys, particularly those who can sing, began. After returning to Brooklyn, I always assumed I was one, he remarked while chuckling. Through Prospect Park, I even guided horseback trail tours. As far as the open range was concerned, it was it. After some time, the family went back to Brooklyn. At Erasmus Hall High School, Diamond became a member of the choral club as a student. Despite the lack of relationship between them at the time, he and Barbra Streisand would go on to become classmates and clubmates. Back then, Diamond and Barbra weren't exactly best friends. We were two Brooklyn kids living in poverty. As a group, we smoked cigarettes and loitered outside Erasmus High. Another chess grandmaster who was a student of Diamond's was Bobby Fischer. Brighton Beach was the new home for Diamond's family shortly thereafter. After transferring to Abraham Lincoln High School, he became a member of the fencing squad alongside his future Olympic fencing partner, Herb Cohen. A guitar was presented to him on his 16th birthday. Surprise Lake Camp was a summer camp in upstate New York for Jewish youth that Diamond attended while she was a high school student. After seeing other children perform their songs for folk singer Pete Seeger at a tiny performance, Diamond had the epiphany that he too could compose music. When we returned to Brooklyn, he proceeded to get a guitar, begin guitar lessons, and soon after he started writing songs. One way that young Diamond dealt with the stresses of adolescence was via songwriting. As a poet, Diamond has also made excellent use of his newfound ability. He became well known and beloved for his ability to captivate schoolgirls with his poetry. While he was in class, a few of his male classmates saw this and started paying him to compose poems that they might use to their advantage. During the summer after his graduation from Abraham Lincoln High School in June 1958, Diamond worked as a waiter in the Catskills resort region. Here he met Jay Posner, the woman he would marry after many years of dating. Diamond enrolled in a pre-medicine program at New York University on a fencing scholarship because he wanted to become a doctor and since he had fenced while in high school. Once again, he was accompanied on the fencing team by his high school pal Herb Cohen. He competed in fencing at the national level in 1960 and was a member of the winning team. Diamond had a full course schedule and would often find herself creating song lyrics in her spare time. He dropped out of school to visit Tin Pan Alley and try to get local music publishers to listen to his tunes. Lucky for him, Sunbeam Music Company eventually offered him a job writing music for 16 weeks at $1.50 per week. He took a job as a songwriter and dropped out of college 6 months early, just 10 units short of graduation. He made the decision to leave college and accept the job during his senior year of high school. He stated that he did not intentionally pursue songwriting. Everything about it consumed him and its importance in his life grew with time. Still, he didn't spend much time at Sunbeam. Once again, Diamond was not hired. He joined a songwriters collective in New York's illustrious Brill Building and began performing demos of his own compositions. During this time, he focused mostly on songwriting and trying to get his songs showcased at publishing houses. Diamond teamed up with Jack Packer, a buddy of his younger brother. Under the names Neil and Jack, they recorded 2 singles for Allied Entertainment Corporation of America in 1960 and 1961. Before you try love, you have no idea what I'm afraid of or what I'll do because you are my love. It transpired that their endeavors were fruitless. After that, in 1961, Packer enrolled at the Manhattan School of Music and they eventually parted ways. Diamond persisted in performing and recording his original music, and he was beginning to carve out a niche for himself in the mainstream music industry. To the public, including the singles Solitary Man and Kentucky Woman, which became famous. He enrolled in the school's commerce program before the year came to a close in 1961. With about the same time, he struck a short agreement with Sunbeam Music before landing a permanent gig with Roosevelt Music. During that time, Dot Records requested a sequel to Pat Boone's popular song Speedy Gonzales. Boone recorded 10 Lonely Guys, which Diamond co-wrote with Mark Lewis. In October of 1962, hitting the 45th spot on the Billboard Hot 100. Diamond had never been on the charts before this. The Rockefeller brothers recorded his song Santa 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 in 1962, and Scepter Records released it. He then transitioned from merely singing his music to actually performing it. He inked a recording contract with Columbia Records to put out singles in the beginning of 1963. The first of 2 solo sessions took place 3 months after his 22nd birthday, January 24th, and on the same day. His debut solo single, Clown Town and At Night, were out on July 2nd. The record was a commercial failure, and the label ultimately fired him. Just Another Guy was Cliff Richard's first UK single, released in early 1965. The British Columbia label published it as the flip side of the hit track The Minute You're Gone, which peaked at number 1. He crossed paths with Ellie Greenwich and Jeff Barry, 2 renowned writers and producers, in February 1965. They saw potential in him and arranged for him to sign a 3-month deal with Trio Music Publishing Company, run by Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller. After Leiber and Stoller let their client Jay and the Americans record Sunday and Me, a song that Diamond had composed at Trio, the partnership ended. He had his first successful hit as a songwriter with this song, which was published as a single in the autumn of 1965 and reached number 18 in December. During this time, Diamond's career was booming, and he inked a deal with Bang Records, owned by Jeff Barry and Ellie Greenwich, under Atlantic. On January 6, 1966, he inked a deal with Web 4, and on April 4, 1966, his debut song Solitary Man was issued by Bang Records. In July, he made his chart debut with Solitary Man, which peaked at number 55. The next month, in October 1966, Diamond released Cherry, which peaked at number 6 on the charts. In 1967, Cliff Richard had a top 40 hit with a cover of I'll Come Running from the B-side. Cherry was requested by Don Kirshner, a music publisher, to write a song for the Monkees by Diamond. Upon receiving I'm a Believer from Diamond, Kirshner expressed his satisfaction. It was Diamond's 6th straight top 40 success when it peaked at number 22 in November, which was in September of that year. Diamond contributed further compositions to the Monkees' discography, such as Love to Love, Look Out, A Little Bit You, and A Little Bit Me. After striking out on his own, Diamond began opening for acts like The Who and Herman's Hermits. Diamond and his producers and record label had a falling out after he had been successful for around 2 years. He had grown dissatisfied with penning simplistic pop tunes as the music industry grew more serious in the late 1960s. He had a different idea for the 6th Bang single, a reflective ballad about an imaginary childhood buddy named Shiloh than Kentucky Woman. Bang included Shiloh on an obscure LP rather than releasing it as a single. Even more so, Diamond believed that the royalties he was receiving were insufficient. His decision to join with a different label was influenced by this. Because his contract had a provision that did not bind him entirely to his current labels, he reasoned that he could do this. Unfortunately, this action led to a string of litigation, so things didn't work out the way he had planned. Despite the legal issue, Diamond was fortunate that the magistrate denied his boss's request for a temporary injunction that would have barred him from taking a job with another company. Since he was no longer bound to any one company, Diamond inked a 5-year deal with Uni Records, which is a division of MCA, even though he continued to sue his previous label until February 1977, when he ultimately prevailed and regained ownership of his master tapes. A decline in his career and record sales occurred simultaneously with this dispute with his previous labels. He began his career with the heartfelt ballad Brooklyn Roads on Uni Records and then released hits like Sunday Sun and Two-Bit Man Child. Regrettably, they were not among the top 40. Velvet Gloves and Spit for Uni, his albums failed to do well on the charts. In his own life, he was also undergoing transformations. Jay Posner, whom he had a crush on in high school and who went on to become a teacher, became his wife. Their daughters' names were Elon and Marjorie. After breaking up in 1967, Diamond began seeing Marcia K. Murphy, who had already relocated to California, after the two had been high school sweethearts. After formally divorcing Jay 2 years later, he wasted no time getting hitched to Murphy the following month. 2 boys, Micah and Jesse, were born to them. After a prolonged downturn, Diamond began to take steps to revive his career. Beginning on January 8, 1969, he worked with producers Tommy Cogbill and Chips Moman at American Sound Studio in Memphis. Brother Love's Traveling Salvation Show, his swiftly released song, used a more gospel and country rock approach. Gold, Neil Diamond's live album recorded in March at Los Angeles' Troubadour nightclub, was released in July 1970. The output was satisfactory, getting to the 10th spot in September. Taproot Manuscript, which debuted in November and peaked at number 13, was hinted at in this album's Cracklin' Rosie. The next year, Diamond dropped an introspective single that seemed to reflect the mood of the moment. It was so successful that it garnered him his first Grammy nomination and went on to reach number 4 on the charts. During this time, he also released other compositions that were instant hits, and his subsequent album, Moods, was a smashing success. The Greek Theater in Los Angeles played host to 7 of his concerts due to his immense popularity. A 35-piece string orchestra and 6 supporting singers were assembled for the performances at the theater, which is renowned for hosting great performers. A new stereo sound system was also installed. The performance by Diamond was so impressive that it was hailed by a prominent publication as the greatest concert ever held at the Greek Theater. Even though it was a new year, the winds continued to blow. He received Grammy nominations for his April single song Blue, which became his second number 1. After a 3-week run at Broadway's Winter Garden in October, Diamond, who had become a major star, decided to take a vacation from live performances. He also got a lucrative agreement with Columbia about the same time he ended his recording contract. The film adaptation of the best-selling novel Jonathan Livingston Seagull was his initial assignment upon joining the label. Diamond spent several years creating music in this style. His album during that time peaked at number 2 on the charts. The album also won him the 1973 Grammy for Best Album of Original Score, which is music composed for films or television shows. In the autumn of 1974, Diamond returned with his debut regular album for Columbia, Serenade. Late in the year, the single Longfellow Serenade topped the AC chart and peaked at number 5 on the Hot 100. With its rapid rise to number 3 in December and subsequent platinum certification, Serenade was an instant hit. After this, I needed to get some rest. Even though I was unsure of when I would return, I did. Each of those albums took me a full year to complete. I had been traveling for 6 years. I felt more of a responsibility to my son than to the spectators since I had a son. My focus was entirely on my son, Jesse, for a period of 4 years. After a year off, Elvis resumed live performances in late January and early February 1976 with dates in Utah and California. In the spring, he embarked on a tour that would take him to the United States, Australia, and New Zealand. He collaborated on the band's new album, Beautiful Noise, alongside Robbie Robertson at this period. If you know what I mean. The album's lead song peaked at number 4 on July 1, 1976, and reached number 11 on the Hot 100 in June. The score for the film Jonathan Livingston Seagull won a Grammy. After making his highly paid debut at the Aladdin Hotel, Diamond took a break from Las Vegas. In 1976, Diamond performed at the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas for a hefty fee. The $10 million new theater for the performing arts was the site of the performance. The 7,500-seat theater was packed throughout the 3-day music series that began on July 2nd and ended on July 5th. On the inaugural night, a slew of Hollywood heavyweights, including Elizabeth Taylor and Chevy Chase, were in attendance. A standing ovation greeted Diamond's stage entrance. His ex-girlfriend, who ended their relationship before he achieved fame and fortune, was the subject of his opening monologue. "Look at me now, you may have left me too soon," yet that was his first line before the first song. His album I'm Glad You're Here With Me Tonight was released in 1977. This song was performed by Barbra Streisand on her album Songbird. Subsequently, the song was performed by Diamond and Barbra as a duet, which gained popularity due to its radio play. In 1978, these pair cracked the top spot. This is Neil Diamond's third #1 hit on the Hot 100. Passing out on stage in San Francisco in 1979 was a terrible event for Diamond. For some time, he had been experiencing numbness in his right leg, but he ignored the problem. He was unable to even stand on his own 2 feet when he fell. After discovering a tumor on his spine, doctors performed a 12-hour operation to remove it. He had a lengthy recuperation time following the procedure. The prospect of not making it made him so anxious about his health that he even composed farewell letters to his friends. The jazz singer, his feature picture, didn't begin filming until 1980, but he did begin early that year. At the 1980 Grammys, he and Barbra shocked everyone by singing the song duet. Songs like America and Love on the Rocks propelled him to stardom after his 1980 role in the Jazz Singer remake. Critical reception for the film was negative, along with his inexperience as an actor, which contributed to the film's poor box office performance. He confessed to feeling like an outsider, completely disoriented. He received a Golden Globe nomination, but ultimately took home the Razzie for Worst Actor. Diamond revealed that the song America has great sentimental value for him because it is dedicated to his grandparents and was written with their feelings in mind. Classic movie tunes and hits from the Brill Building era were covered on 6 CDs by Diamond. In addition, he released 2 holiday albums, and one of the albums peaked at number 8. Singing at President George H.W. Bush's 1992 Christmas party was his career highlight. He played 2 shows the following year to kick off the Quad Cities Music Festival. A fan favorite at sporting events like the Boston College Games, and even at international events like a football match in Northern Ireland. At a rugby competition in Hong Kong, Sweet Caroline made a triumphant return. The anthem of Red Sox Nation and a smash hit at Sydney Swans games, it has gone viral. There were problems in the early 1990s. Unfortunately, Diamond's marriage didn't endure and terminated in 1994. Because of its subsequent use, Diamond held the America song in high regard. It aired on national television during the return of the hostages during the Iran crisis, the centenary celebration of the Statue of Liberty, and ceremonies honoring veterans of the Vietnam War and Martin Luther King Jr. In a nationwide survey, the song's recognition was even higher than that of God Bless America. After September 11, 2001, he changed the lyrics to Stand Up for America as a tribute, and it became a major element of his world tour. At Muhammad Ali's request and on other significant occasions throughout the years, he also sang it. Although Diamond's popularity waned in the late 80s and early 90s, he persisted in playing live and, by the decade's close, had regained much of his former glory. At major sporting events such as Boston Red Sox games, his 1960s smash tune Sweet Caroline would often be played, which contributed to this. After 1986, when Diamond's only single reached #1 on the Billboard chart, album sales began to decline throughout the 80s and 90s. Nonetheless, his concerts continued to draw crowds, and he was named 1986's most lucrative solo artist by Billboard. His 17th studio album, Headed for the Future, debuted that year and peaked at 20 on Billboard 200. Not long after that, he showcased comedic sketches and performed alongside Carol Burnett in Hello Again, his first television special in 9 years. Two stripped-down albums that received rave reviews only served to elevate his standing as an artist. He wrote the tunes for Home Before Dark despite his constant back discomfort. In 2005, Rick Rubin released a stripped-down album titled 12 Songs. As well as the regular 12-song version, there was a special edition that included 2 more tracks, one of which included Brian Wilson. The album received positive reviews and debuted at 4 on the Billboard list. Extended copy protection was used by Sony BMG for one of their last albums. They were inducted into the Long Island Music Hall of Fame in 2007 by Diamond. Contestants on American Idol in 2008 who performed his music were mentored by him. From his upcoming album, Home Before Dark, he also debuted in a new single titled Pretty Amazing Grace. If that weren't enough, Diamond launched Neil Diamond Radio on Sirius XM. The announcement of his concert at Fenway Park on August 23, 2008 caught many by surprise. Before the 51st Annual Grammy Awards on February 6, 2009, Diamond was named the Music Airs Person of the Year. Even Boston, where he is extremely well-liked, asked him to perform at their Independence Day celebration in 2009. His third Christmas album, Cherry Christmas, was released on October 13, 2009. Dreams, Diamond's 2010 album, featured cover versions of songs by various rock bands that Diamond loved. There was a cover version of I'm a Believer on the album. It was in December that he performed Ain't No Sunshine on the Sing-Off, an NBC National Singing Competition. In 2011, Neil Diamond released the very best of his studio recordings. Diamond, who was 70 years old at the time, announced his engagement to Katie McNeil, who was 41 years old, via Twitter on September 7, 2011. At 2012, they tied the knot at the City of Angels, in the company of loved ones. Neil Diamond's Hot August Nights is a documentary that McNeil helped produce. Diamond had a banner year in 2011 and 2012, with numerous accomplishments such as her induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Kennedy Center's Lifetime Achievement Award. In addition to performing at notable events like the Royal Variety Performance and the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, he also received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. After the bombings at the 2013 Boston Marathon, Diamond shocked everyone by performing Sweet Caroline at Fenway Park. A charity record titled Freedom Song was also issued by him. In 2014, after performing at a Capitol Fourth, Diamond consolidated all of his music catalogs by signing with Capitol Music Group. The original September 2014 release date for his album Melody Road was rescheduled to October 21st. He said that his friendship with McNeil served as an inspiration for Melody Road. He shocked everyone by performing at his former Brooklyn high school and announcing a 2015 world tour. The tour's starting point was Allentown, Pennsylvania, and its finishing point was Denver, Colorado. Diamond heavily utilized Twitter and Periscope during the tour to engage with fans and create more participatory performances. A contemporary and interesting concert experience was had by all. Utilizing many sorts of digital media to communicate with more people. Neil Diamond's 2016 acoustic Christmas album featured both original compositions and stripped-down renditions of beloved holiday favorites. To commemorate his lengthy career, Neil Diamond's 50th anniversary collection was issued in 2017. In Fresno, California, he embarked on his last tour, the 50th Anniversary World Tour. It all came to a head in 2018 when a tragic event occurred and he went into hiding to deal with the aftermath. Diamond stunned onlookers when he returned to perform at the Las Vegas Keep Memory Alive Power of Love Gala, despite being sick. He was feted for his incredible achievement. Subsequently, he uploaded a video to YouTube on March 22, 2020, rearranging the words of Sweet Caroline to emphasize the need to wash hands and avoid close contact with others in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Due to its cultural importance, the Library of Congress decided to add the well-known song to the National Recording Registry. Several record labels sold Diamond's song catalog and recording rights to Universal Music Group in February 2022. A previously unreleased album, old movies and unpublished tunes were also part of the agreement. After that, Diamond performed Sweet Caroline at a Fenway Park Red Sox game on June 18, 2022. Will Swenson, who portrays Diamond in the musical A Beautiful Noise, surprised everyone during the eighth-inning break by performing alongside him.